Hello, welcome to a new video, and today is part 1 of looking at Play Expo 2019 in Manchester, which took place in the early May bank holiday weekend, and replay events have all but confirmed that it will be taking place at the same time in 2020. That's kind of how annual events work. It's not yet been confirmed whether it's going to be at the same venue, but I think the smart money is on that happening. In this first video, I'll look at a number of different bits and pieces, some of the things I liked and some of the things where there is room for improvement. One of the things I enjoyed the most is, one of the things is the arcade games. There's always tons of arcade games to play. I made a list of them. Well, not all of them, but some of them. Two of my all-time favourites, because of their what they call hydraulic units, Outrun and Space Harrier. Outrun's a classic arcade racing game. Space Harrier, it's a weird one. You just sort of, you're a man who can just seem to just sort of hover about all around the screen while shooting dragons and whatnot. It's just weird, but because it's a hydraulic unit, you're just sort of going back and forth and all over the place while he's flying around as well. It's bizarre, but it's hugely entertaining. There's also the Star Wars sit-down arcade cabinet, which I remember playing back in the day, and that was it's a phenomenal game. Often they tend to have an afterburner hydraulic unit in there. Another one of those which just sort of throws you all about the place. They didn't have that this time. Maybe I played it too much, but I mean, that's a brilliant game as well. I did play it in another different way, but I'll come to that later. There's also the original Operation Wolf, which is like sort of with the mounted gun sight. That's always good fun to play. There's Crazy Taxi and Sega Rally with the feedback on the steering wheel, just as you're juddering as you go around the corners and crashing into everything, as I do. Dig Dug and Mr. Do, classic games. And also Battle Zone, with the one with the sort of visor that you're looking through. Oh, it's just wonderful. There's also many different pinball machines. Yeah, baby, yeah! There are a few PS4 units playing more modern games, but for me, my heart's more in the retro side of things. There was like a PS2, PS3, Xbox and Xbox 360, and I rekindled my love of Outrun 2000. I mean, obviously I played Outrun on the arcade game, but I rekindled my love of Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, which I remember playing at the time back in the day I was playing it on the Xbox here. I remember playing it back in the day. I preferred Outrun 2. Outrun 2006 just wasn't quite as good, but I don't know. It's just I just got back into it for the first time in, well, presumably 2006 to 2019. That's 13 years. So I'm going to take a punt on 13 years. So it's been a long time, but I loved it. I just wanted to keep going. But there's lots of things to play, and you've only got 8 hours in a day, so time is of the essence. Looking at the more retro side of things with some of the older consoles, three that sort of stood out for me, there was a Sega Mark III. Was that like a Master System 3? I'm not quite sure. I was playing Afterburner on that. Obviously, it's not the same as playing the hydraulic game, but it still has some of that essence in there as you're just sort of flying about. It's a bit. It's not. It's anyway nowhere near as flows as well as the arcade game, but it's pretty good for a home conversion. There's also the Nintendo Virtual Boy. I played Wario Land on that. That was really cool. Where you just, again, like sort of like the Battle Zone thing. If you've not seen it, you sort of put your eyes into the visor, and you do get that feeling of 3D-ness, if that's a word. As you just sort of like jump into the screen to sort stuff out and shoot some baddies, and then jump out of the thing. Really, really clever. I don't think there's too many games out for that, but I do hear a lot of people with Nintendo Switches wishing that Nintendo would just bring those games to the Switch. Maybe with the new Labo VR that's coming out. And also one I'd never heard of before, the Super Cassette Vision. What the hell is that? But I played Astro Wars 2, Battle in Galaxy. I mean, that was great fun. It was a bit kind of like Galaxians from what I remember. But really enjoyed that. Now I do have to go into some of the problems at Play Expo this time round, because there were a few things which need ironing out. This was the first time it was held at Manchester Central, which is the old GMEX building opposite the Midland Hotel in Manchester Town Centre. Previously it was held at Event City, which is just near the Trafford Centre, and that was, I mean, I know there's a few different rooms that you can use there, or a few different sort of more like aircraft hangars. I mean, it was, the one they had there was absolutely massive, and you could look from one end to the other. You could not see the other end from one end. Whereas Manchester Central, the sort of big area they used, you can see from one end to the other. And what became fairly soon apparent was that they didn't use the whole building. They sort of cut it off with about, I mean, you've got, I think there's like about sort of, it's like a sort of archway thing, and there's like, I think about 16, 17 archways going all the way from one end to the other, and I think they used about 13, 14 of them, 12, 13, 14, something like that. So almost all of the building, but not quite the whole building. It was a shame. I mean, maybe I've been spoiled, because when I first went there in 2014, it was absolutely, I mean, there's so much there, and they have scaled things down a bit over the years. I mean, as of the prices for this year, it was £20 to get in if you're a single person, or for an individual, or £34 for a weekend ticket. I mean, it's still fantastic value if you spend the whole day there, especially on both days. And it's a bit cheaper still if you have a family ticket. Not quite sure what the prices were for that, but again, you do save some money. And I highly recommend it. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. If you love a bit of video games, love a bit of retro especially. They also had a bit of Minecraft and Fortnite in there, but those aren't my sort of thing. Why the change from one building to another? Well, less people have been going year on year. And yeah, again, maybe it's me being a bit spoiled since I've been going there all these years. I mean, they still had a lot of arcade games and a lot of pinball machines. I do love a bit of pinball, and it's the only time I get to play pinball, really. So it's always worth going for that. But again, there was sort of less, noticeably less than there was on previous years. But I think it can get back to those glory days, as I'll get into shortly. They also had a food court if you're the kind of person who likes eating food. But, prices in there, they're pretty much on a par with city centre fast food prices. Not cheap, not too expensive, about the same, quite frankly. But myself, if I'm in a hot building all day long, I'd much rather just go outside. I'll bring some sandwiches and I'll go sit outside, have half an hour and just take a break and enjoy the fresh air for a change. As well as the talks on the main stage, they also had a couple of other events. Nightmare Live, which was based on the kids' TV show from the 80s and 90s, which I remember watching first time round. They also had a talk on the Sunday with Hugo Myatt, who played Treguard. I watched a bit of that, I didn't get too much into it, but if you actually have the dark room, which again I didn't see that. I mean, you could certainly hear it from outside, and quite frankly, based on what I've seen online and what I could hear on Saturday and Sunday, it just seems to be a man shouting at people. I don't get it. Anyway, I assumed when they said it was a £5, I assumed that it was like a £5 to take part. No. It's a £5 just to go in and watch. Obviously, that's on top of the ticket that you've already paid to get in there. So, I'm not going to stick around for that. They also had some virtual reality, but again, sort of scaling things down. They only have 3 games, which was Battlezone. I mean, that's an awesome game on the PSVR. If you've ever watched, if you love the film Tron, it's like being in the film Tron. It's just like that. It's just absolutely bloody amazing. They also had Wipeout, but they said that it needed a patch, or they just missed out on the patch to get the VR working properly. Why they didn't download that, I don't know. And so all you saw was like playing it with it on a big screen in front of you. But it was still pretty good with the helmet on. And Drive Club, which was quite funny. I think I played that one before, but they had no huge stalls dedicated to a single game like they have in past years. Like a few years ago, they had a preview of Dark Souls 3 about 6 months before it came out, and like the year after, they had Battlezone, on PSVR, just a big massive unit where you had like about 4 or 5 machines playing at once. Not all together. You weren't all playing the same match, but it just meant everyone could have a go, and it was phenomenal. But again, it's one of the things that have kind of got dropped over the years. Now, I've mentioned already about how some things have been scaled down over time, but when it comes to the cosplay, and I love the cosplay, there are just 2 things that change. Both are things which are decisions which have happened over the past couple of times it's been going, and which can easily be reversed. Now, firstly, they did the same thing they did the first time in the 2017 event. Instead of having the judges sat to the side of the stage, they had them sat right in front of the stage. Now, if you're a member of the audience and you're thinking, I'll get like a good seat either in the front row, right in the middle, or sort of in the aisle, because what they tended to do from 2014 to 2016, they'd come on stage and then stand around for photos and then sort of walk towards you down the aisle, and that was pretty cool. And then what they did last time was they just had the judges on a table right in front of the stage. Now, I can understand they want to be there judging the acts, but I see it primarily as an event for the public to watch. I think the public are more important than the judges. The judges can still see what's going on from the side, but I think the public are more important. And when the judges are sat where they're sat, and you'll see in some of my photos about this, even though I sat on the front row and just to the side because I'd learned from last time, they just get in the way. So part of the performance from some people is walking across from side to side. Sometimes there's even been involved like lying down on the stage or just sitting down on the stage. And if the judges are there, then they're just blocking everything that's going on. It's just I don't know who came up with that decision. I mentioned the problem last time in a piece I wrote about the 2017 event. No one's paid attention. The other issue is the lighting. Now for this and Matthew Smith's talk, which were the only ones I saw, and now I know the cosplay followed the dark room, which is meant to be dark, but if there's one thing cosplay needs in order to be seen properly, it's light. It's light. And especially in a lot of pictures I took, the whole sort of room, the whole sort of, Manchester Central was a bit darker than Event City anyway, but at least there was still some light there in the sort of main auditorium. But in the cosplay area during the masquerade, it was just way too dark. I got to the point where I had to use my camera's flash several times, to the point where it just seemed to just sort of give up after a while, and then I had to take a number of shots without it, until it started working again. And on the Saturday, I did think about filming it. Now I put it up, I put it online already, the Sunday cosplay parade, and I did end up filming that one, largely because a lot of the same people, well, some of the same people were there on Sunday in the same outfits as they were on the Saturday. But as you can see from the video, it's just all a bit way too dark. The mad thing is that Manchester Central does have lighting overhead in every place throughout the room. So while I know they've used it elsewhere, why not just use it for that during the cosplay as well? I mean, I hope they see this and then change things for next time. The Sunday had a fair few less people attending, and while there were one or two people I missed taking cosplay pictures of on Saturday, I soon knew on Sunday whether or not I'd got everyone. This was telling when it came to the length of the cosplay masquerade. Usually they last around 45 minutes each day prior to the awards ceremony. This time it was about 30 minutes on the Saturday and around 15 minutes on the Sunday. The trouble with making the whole thing smaller is that I hope it doesn't get smaller still next time. I think for 2020, make it the same size, but drop prices a bit. I don't know exactly what size drop would be financially viable, but just enough so that more people come in and the overall revenue is increased. Like I say, my first Play Expo was a 2014 event in Event City, and that was absolutely rammed, and I would love to see those numbers return. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Please like this video and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the little bell to get all the notifications. And in the next part, I'll be having a look at the ZX Spectrum Next and some of the games that are on display there, and also Matthew Smith, the legend who made us gave us Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy. He was there in the flesh.